Belgium is renowned for its diverse and high-quality beer offerings. With over 1,500 different beer labels, the country boasts a rich brewing tradition. Belgian beers encompass various styles, including Trappist ales, Abbey beers, Lambics, and Saisons. Trappist ales are brewed by monks, known for their strong and flavorful profiles. Abbey beers are inspired by monastic traditions, but are crafted by commercial breweries. Lambics, including the famous Gueuze and Creek varieties, are spontaneously fermented, creating unique and complex flavors. Saisons are farmhouse ales with a spicy and fruity character. Belgian beers often showcase innovation, with breweries experimenting with ingredients like fruits and spices. This diversity makes Belgian beer a significant part of the country's cultural heritage and a delight for beer enthusiasts worldwide.
Welcome to the Bruges Beer Museum. Want to find out more about the rich Belgian beer heritage? Then be sure to visit the Bruges Beer Experience.
Barley, water, hops and yeast are the basic ingredients for making beer, but they cannot be used in their unprocessed form, and for consecutive stages, malting, brewing, fermentation and lagering they are processed into beer, depending on the beer style. The total brewing process can take a few days up to 3 weeks, in case of some beers. This is followed by several months of aging, during which they get an exceptional character and bouquet. The first stage is malting. In this process the grains of barley are prepared for future processing into mash. The grains of barley cannot be used in their unprocessed form. Water, heat, and air are added so that the grains of barley start to germinate. As soon as the enzymes appear, the maltster stops the germination by drying the grain. The process gives malt its color. The higher the temperature, the darker the malt. Tail malt is dried at a temperature of 85 degrees Celsius. Caramel malt at 105 degrees Celsius, in case of certain beers such as stout. Roasted or kilned malt is used that has been dry at approximately 130 degrees Celsius. Now the actual brewing process takes place. The first step is mashing, or preparing the mash. The malt is milled, mixed with water and heated so that the enzymes convert the starch is the grist into fermentable sugars. Then the mash is filtered to separate the residual grain from the sugary liquid called wort. The residue of malt after mashing or spent grain is sold as animal feed. The filtered wort is then transferred to the beer. Its bitterness and aroma. Other herbs such as coriander and clove may also be added during boiling. Boiling sterilizes the hopped wort, i.e. no living microorganisms are left in it. The hopped wort settles, whereupon the hops and solid particles in the wort are filtered out or whirlpooled. Then the wort is cooled down to a temperature of 7 to 10 degrees Celsius for bottom fermented beers and 15 to 25 degrees Celsius for top fermented beers. The third important stage is fermentation. Yeast is added to the cooled wort and liquid is transferred to the fermenters of fermentation tanks. These yeast cells come from a pure culture or yeast storage tank. They propagate as long as there is oxygen, and then they convert the sugars into alcohol and carbon dioxide. This is the first time in the brewing process that the product can be called beer. The final stage is lagering. After the primary fermentation, the top or bottom fermented beer is transferred to the lagering tanks, where it is aged for a short or longer period of time. During this lagering or secondary fermentation, the flavors become more refined, while the beer continues to ferment and undergoes carbonated. Finally, the beer is filtered. Then it is ready to be packaged in bottles, cans, or kegs. It has been known for hundreds of years or more that beer and cheese are a match made in heaven. The possibility of pairing beer and chocolate is a much more recent discovery, however. But this doesn't detract from the appeal of the combination. It cannot be a coincidence that Belgium is famous for its beer and chocolate. In fact, the two have quite a lot in common. Just think of dark stouts and porters. Although no cocoa is added to these, beers, you can detect a clear hint of dark chocolate in their flavor and aroma. Since gastronomy is not an exact science, there are no clearly defined rules for beer and chocolate pairing. But what is true for pairing beer with cheese or other food is also true for chocolate. On the one hand, dark chocolate goes well with a heavy stout because of their similarities. On the other hand, opposites can complement each other. The biggest risk in the latter case is that one flavor is predominant over the other, so you only taste the beer and not the chocolate, or vice versa. It is essential to experiment and find out what works best for you. Beer and cheese are complementary. Cheese can bring out the flavor of beer and vice versa. There are probably as many kinds of cheese in the world as there are types of beer. So it goes without saying that there are successful and less successful combinations, although tastes differ. There are some combinations that always work. Lager beers go well with hard and sharp-tasting cheeses. Soft, creamy cheeses such as French Brie or Camembert come into their own with more sour beers like Old Gueuze. Top fermented beers combine well with malted, full-flavored cheeses, of course. The most important advice is to taste 10 trial combinations you think may work. A final tip, try a dark Abbey beer. With a piece of dark chocolate, the bitter and full flavors complement each other perfectly. Moderate beer consumption does not affect your weight. The famous male beer belly is in fact a half-truth. Alcoholic beverages contain calories and, in case of excess, they may indeed make you gain weight. The same is true in case of an unbalanced and high-calorie diet. However, there is no evidence that normal, moderate beer consumption of men results in excessive abdominal fat. The combination of unhealthy lifestyles and eating habits is to blame. In fact, alcohol has another disadvantage. If you eat during or after alcohol consumption, you will burn less fat. Alcohol has to be processed immediately and cannot be accumulated in the body. This means you will accumulate fat slightly more quickly. In addition, hops stimulate the secretion of gastric juice and thus make you feel hungry. Beer stimulates that appetite. Who doesn't feel puckish after a couple of beers? Hops contain a strong phytoestrogen. Phyto is Greek for plant, and estrogen is the female hormone. At the age of about 50, women reach the menopause. Professor de Cuculaire, who devoted his whole life to studying the hop plant, has developed Menahop, a dietary supplement based on hops which helps reduce menopausal symptoms. Does hoppy beer have the same effect? Research has shown regular consumption of strongly hopped beers to have a very positive effect on women during menopause. Some results even indicate that hop beer increases the life expectancy of women, but no conclusive evidence has been produced so far. The ancient Egyptians were fond of beer. Everyone drank it. From pharaoh to peasant, beer was considered an appropriate gift for the pharaoh. The Egyptians also linked beer to a goddess, Hathor. The mother goddess was sometimes depicted as a cow or as a young woman wearing a pair of lawn home in which a sun disk is set. According to myth, the sun god Ra lost his patience with mankind and decided to have the goddess Hathor punish them. Hathor acted so rashly that a river of blood ran through the streets. Ra began to feel pity and decided to stop Hathor with a trick. He created a sea of red beer consisting of blood, barley and fruits. Hathor drank it, fell asleep and had forgotten about her task the following morning. She was therefore known as the mistress of intoxication, and her temple in Dendera is sometimes described as a place of drunkenness.
The museum's bar, adorned with a vast array of beer bottles, features an inviting atmosphere. Visitors clink glasses filled with a diverse selection of Belgian beers, from Trappist ales to fruity Lambics. Laughter and conversations fill the air as people savor the rich flavors of Belgian brewing heritage. The bar, with its rustic charm, becomes a hub for beer enthusiasts to immerse themselves in the vibrant beer culture of Bruges.